Welcome to the Golden Mike podcast, where personal growth simply isn't enough. I'm your host, Mark Cordone, a positive psychology coach, a do-gooder from the island of misfit toys who founded the Joy Revolution. Each week I'll wrap with an extraordinary guest doing extraordinary things through their own revolutionary work to talk about the ups, downs, and all-arounds of life. It's my mission to provoke and empower you through increased joy and inspire you to spark your own revolution to change history for the better. Welcome to the most serious happiness podcast in this multiverse. Welcome to the Golden Mike podcast. Having a completely amazing moment that I know is never going to happen again. And sitting there in my personality saying, what are the parts, where are the golden shadows that can show up right now? And I can add those to my persona to be able to fulfill my mission of having as much fun as possible and empowering as many people as possible. So I wish I had a really meta example that I could give, but really for me, the personality is not only a spiritual one, but it's a very human one. It's a very human one where, I long for things and I do want certain things. And then, it's, a big part of this year has been the extinguishing of the people pleaser side of myself, which is why part of this Golden Mike is up. Because this is not the people pleaser Mark that's talking right now, because people pleasing at its core is not about doing anything except for appeasing someone and using your own agenda then and sneaking it under. Mm-hmm. And I really don't want to do it. I really would rather say it to somebody's face what my agenda is.
Is there a feeling associated with the people pleasing? How do you know when you're slipping into that?
It's not me anymore. Or I'm saying niceties. Or I'm, it's going out of my way to make sure that I know that the person likes me, right? And it doesn't disgust me. It's just something that I realize is a tactic that I had used for several years of my life. That's not necessary, because I people please the shit out of everybody, and yet in being here in New York, I don't think anybody wants to hang out with me, because it was a facade Mark that was showing himself, and I don't know if that makes any sense.
It makes absolute sense.
Yeah, and so. I think my personality is this vacillation between certain things. Like, for example, just kind of using Carl Jung's work, I really want to be this benevolent king. I want to be a benevolent king for my family. I want to be a benevolent king for the Joy Revolution. I want to be a benevolent king to the relationships I'm in. But I also need to understand that with the benevolent king, there are shadows that I must reconcile or that I must integrate and face. For example, the benevolent king, when taken to a self-serving place, is the tyrant. Mm-hmm. And I have to own the fact that, sometimes in that Joy Revolution, I can get pretty tyrannical, or I need to own the fact that the benevolent king can feel like he's or she has lost their power and has become a weakling. And so oftentimes the shadow will show up and I'll see someone who I deem as a weakling, maybe a homeless angel, right? And I don't realize how much of myself is the weakling itself. And so so much of the things that activate me and the things that used to repel me, really, as of recently, I have really been looking at why are they repelling me? Well, they're repelling me because they're showing me a side of myself that I had repressed. And now I have a choice to bring that up again And rather than looking at this person as a weakling and looking down upon them, or putting them on a pedestal, I can just honor and thank that person for illuminating something that I can't see on my own. So for me, that my personality is pretty confused, but also at the same time, it's one that really behind the scenes strives for what is the truth. What is, and I know I'll never get to absolute. It's one in which I look at, I look at certain things with, even as we're doing the interview here and you're talking about family, there's a lot of work I still have to do around my family, and I adore my family, but there's still a lot of work that I do, because when I become the weakling king, I might blame them because I have to go to Florida and I can't be in New York and California and all these sexy places and put it on Facebook to show people how valid I am as a coach. And then I might secretly resent my family. And so there's a lot of work that I have to do. And so when it comes to my personality is the most raw thing out there. And my personas are really my personas are the things that, like, I've done a good job in crafting the mask and putting it on, and people know what to expect. And then that personality is something that's much more fragile. And it's something that's really precious. And I think for my spirit to choose this meat suit, and one in which I don't think my spirit chose, I don't think my spirit did not choose a Filipino American by accident,
No.
I was allowed to see sort of this dichotomy in growing up. I'm not Filipino enough. I'm not American enough. And so I thought that I needed to exist somewhere on this continuum, when really, to me, using a Mark statement, life is about you creating the third space that's transcendental of the continuum.
Mm-hmm.
I'm something so much more than a Filipino American. Mm-hmm. And that's taken a lot of work looking at my personality, and also then looking at these personas, the American persona, the Filipino persona, and thinking that I had to live with those masks on my face, and then not understanding, oh my gosh, I can't wear both masks at once. Of course I can't. But what I can do is I can create something that's completely new and possibly walk around without any mask on. That's pie in the sky goal, but that's something that I kind of look forward to.
I don't think that's pie in the sky at all.
Why not?
I think you are who you say you are.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, it does take work.
Yeah.
And it does take time. I think we're all trying to reconcile on some level these identities and personas. Who am I? Mm-hmm. Who I've been told I am. Mm-hmm. I remember when I first moved to New York, I was dating this man who told me I was so pale.
We really have had all these colors show up for you. You've been gray. You've been pale.
Yeah. And that was astonishing. He was Puerto Rican, and in the summer he would tan this beautiful red brown. Mm-hmm. It was like the sun was rising on his skin. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I ever heard that. I'm pale. I went to high school in the Midwest. I was the darkest thing around.
You were the darkest one. You're the darkest crayon.
Yeah, right? And I was like, I wonder if race is determined. There's no such thing, but the perception of race depends on where you're standing and who you're with.
Contextually, absolutely.
Yeah, and who you're with. And I was like, wow, I'm pale. That's amazing. I'm pale. It's funny. And now, and like especially when I get out of the hospital, I was looking in the mirror, I'm like, ooh, I am pale. But that's not how I grew up.
I'm just wanting to see your forearm next to me.
Oh, okay. I was like, what are you
you're
doing?
pale, sister.
Yeah, well, nothing a little self-tanner won't help.
No.
But that's like not how I grew up. I grew up in a place where everyone was a size 0. had light eyes and like blonde or mousy brown hair. And then there I am, you know, when I first moved to New York, and I saw all these different women, all these different shapes and curves, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
These are my people.
Yeah.
Because I had curves. No one had curves, you know, and I thought like I wasn't skinny. No, I wasn't skinny. I had curves. So it's been, New York has been like a parent to me in that it's helped me find love, like self-love. And to this day, continually trying to understand like who my father was, who he wasn't, and having the benefit of like being able to be, I also wanted to be a spy. But having been a spy in the various circles that I walk in, people don't know what I am. I could be anything. I could put a bindi on, you know, and being able to like go intimately into various worlds. Yeah. And the one thing that I've discovered is everyone has the same hang-ups, and they think it's like their people. It's like, no. Right. Those people over there have the same hang-ups you guys do. Yeah. Those Italian mothers do the same thing that Jewish mothers do. Yeah, absolutely. Eat. You know? Well, you know. So it's like we're so alike, but we've just been taught that we're separate. Absolutely. And I think I use the idea of Filipino and American I not lightly, but also there's something above that. And it's often that we think that we're living in this completely dual world, and I think that's part of the 3D issue is this idea of dualism, and then when we realize that it's not a dual world, spectrum. Yes, and that's when we can start transcending this idea of either or, embracing this and really creating these new. These new amazing things for both ourselves and society. I have to ask you this. So we've been talking about your brain healing and how you're in the healing process right now, Jazz. I gotta ask the positive psychology questions, right? Okay. So they're obvious. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at a damn positive psychology book on your, right here, right on top of the 48 laws of power. And one of the big things in positive psychology is that you're not bound to your trauma. You know, just because you've experienced traumatic stress and may have gone into post-traumatic stress doesn't mean you stay there, even though you're in a healing place right now. Right. Sorry. She just totally nailed her glasses against the mic. I thought they shattered. But like, you know, we're talking about you going to a place of healing, but I'm not hearing you saying that you're going to stay there. I'm actually hearing you say that I'm not only going to heal, but I'm going to grow through the trauma. Like that's post-traumatic growth at its very simplest form. What does the superhuman, the supernatural version of you look like? Oh, wow. I think she just shot webs out of her fingers. I don't know. Plugged in. Yeah. Plugged into the field. You know, and I'm not saying that you're not that already. No, you know? I am that. Yeah. And since you're saying that you're healing, yes, what does it look like once you get through that healing and then you start going into massive growth? What does the massive growth, Jazz, look like? I'm actually experiencing my ego having no response, which is pretty awesome. Yeah. That is so exciting. Yeah. Wow. I want to talk about the trauma because my consciousness didn't experience the trauma. My consciousness observed the trauma. It didn't sound like it when you were talking about it. It looked like the consciousness was an observer. Yeah. My beautiful brain had the trauma. Mm-hmm. I actually see this experience as a blessing. Mm-hmm. And this is the place that I needed to get to for what is coming and what is next. And clearly, I could not have gotten here on my own because I tried. Mm-hmm. And so the forces, powers, God that be, needed to jumpstart me so that I could get to this place to then. So what does the growth, what does the supernatural look like beyond this? I have no idea. Mm-hmm.
Which would also make it hard to answer the question, what is coming, even though
I know,
feel it coming.
Yeah, I feel I have ideas about, I have pillars that I would like to accomplish, and those are egoic things that, but I feel like those egoic things are also for the goodness of all, and I am very mindful about what I put out into the world and hold myself accountable and responsible for that. I live by sensation, which is different than feeling, and make plans and stay flexible. I have plans. Will they change? Probably.
So we better take down these things on
the because they'll morph.
Right.
They'll morph. They'll evolve.
Right.
They will grow. There's the answers to the unknown are in the unknown, which is why I don't have any answers. We aren't there yet, but I feel it.
Then I don't want to get too wacky with this, but to be omniscient and to not know almost seemed like a paradox.
Yeah, I imagine so. When they told me I had to have brain surgery, let me go back a little bit further. When I was told that I had to write, I said, okay. Again, I never do what I'm told, but this was a divine directive, and I said, okay. Immediately, and I witnessed that. I witnessed myself say okay and then do that. It was kind of like, it's fascinating. Fast forward, I'm in the hospital and I have to have brain surgery. What am I going to say? I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to go get my hair done downtown, and I'll give me a few days.
Supercuts. I'll
be back. And no, I had to surrender. Yeah. I had to trust. There were times it felt like I was 12 years old and they were using words and explaining what was going to happen. It's like, okay, what am I going to say? I'm good on the surgery. Just, it'll take care of itself. It'll grow, it'll not grow. I had to surrender. I had to trust. Actually, I didn't have to do that. I could have been wackadoo about it. I could have lost it. But there was no losing to be had because I walk with divine. I walk in faith, and I have always been provided for and taken care of. So you surrender and you trust what comes.
Do you know when you're not walking in the divine?
Yeah.
Okay. You're making a face that I have. There's a new face here, and what's going on?
It's seperation. It's the misuse of ambition. It's investment in the ego. It's, the thing about stress, what people may not know about stress is that it puts you in a place of judgment and insecurity, and it causes these abnormal states, which are deemed normal by today's standards, that feed jealousy, anger, insecurity, envy. And people think that these are character flaws within themselves. And they're not. They're indicators. They're either indicators that, that person's doing something really awesome. I want to do something like that. Okay, own it. Make friends. Find out how they did it. Ask them to mentor you. Or look at your life. Are you living in chronic stress? Are you pushing the envelope so hard that you are releasing, you're in fight or flight, you're in survival. And in survival, you only think about yourself, your body, how much time do you have, your environment, can I get to safety, will I have enough, mine? And we think these are character flaws. No, they're symptoms of stress. That's where the honesty and acceptance comes in, because until we check ourselves, we can stumble through so much of life and then get to the end of it.
Yeah.
and be like, what? Oh my God, I just wasted however many years
Yeah.
living a life that wasn't mine, or chasing something that I didn't even want.
Right.
Or that was not good for me. I just kept signing up for something that wasn't good for me.
Right.
Or I kept sabotaging the things that I wanted over and over and over again. And so if we don't know the symptoms of stress, if we can't be honest with ourselves and be in a place of acceptance of like, I think I'm jealous a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm angry often. Or damn, I fly off the handle every time I'm in traffic.
Mm-hmm.
What is that about? Like, why am I doing that?
Right.
Maybe I'm overextended. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe I don't want to do what I'm doing.
When was the last time that you didn't walk with the divine, and you straight up knew it, and what was the result?
Yeah, the result was this.
The brain?
Yeah, I mean, the last 3 years, Mark, seriously, it's like I was driving with the clutch on, really pushing for my business, even though I was growing. I was growing in capabilities, and I was growing in strength and endurance and resilience. I don't even know how I made it through 2018, to be quite honest. I was so tired and back and forth and doing so many things and really needing help and support, and was unable to create that for myself. So I just kept pushing and then pushing harder, and it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right.
Okay. So aside from the white knuckling,
that
was going against the fact that it didn't feel right.
And the fact that I was white knuckling. Everything.
That's already going against the divine.
Because believe it or not, life is easy. When you are moving with it and working with it and taking cues from it, it's meant to be easy. Relationships are meant to be easy. Riding the wave of your career is meant to be easy. You shouldn't be cracking a whip on yourself. It shouldn't be a self-flagellating experience. Yeah. It shouldn't be painful. And I'm using the word shouldn't, but I'm saying it doesn't have to be. I don't believe that it's meant to be. Everything great in my life has happened with ease. When I was dancing salsa professionally, I found the publisher by accident because I was teaching her. She was in a class and she needed a writer, and I got a contract with Simon & Schuster. Easy. I wasn't like, I am a writer. I must go pursue writing. Mm-hmm. I was following my joy, and my joy presented me with an opportunity that I said yes to. Mm-hmm. And so many things in my life have happened that way.
So you think that the brain, the brain issue that came up was a result of not following the divine and white knuckling it, and not listening to your intuition?
I think the brain thing was two things, possibly three. One, I think it was part of my path. I think it's part of my path to be on that corner or in whatever place I was at the time I was there, to have the experience, to then have this one and all the ones that have followed. So it was part of my path. Life talking to me to make me stronger, to recognize my own power, because I had been giving some power away and I needed to call that back. I needed to fight for myself. I needed to fight to be here within myself, to know that I wanted to be here. And I think it was that I was, I always reference this book, Eagle's Quest by Fred Allen Wolf, and he talks about how an eagle can see a mouse that is out of alignment with its environment from miles away because its vision is so sharp. But the mouse also contributes to its own demise because it's out of harmony with its environment, and so the eagle is able to swoop down and have dinner. So while there were orchestrations that were divine in the 3 years, for instance, how I met our mentor, I was supposed to go to Ireland that weekend with one of my very dear friends, and I canceled last minute. Mm-hmm. She was not happy with me. But I knew I was supposed to go to this event, not necessarily to meet Trisha. I was going there to meet someone else. Mm-hmm. But I found myself in front of Trisha. And I found myself in front of Trisha talking about redefining family, of all things. And she asked me questions, and I didn't have the answers. And so it came up to work with her, and I jumped on it. But had I not said no to a plan, bought the ticket, paid the money, that was on my wall, I was going. But had I not said no to that plan and trusted my instinct, I would not have met her. I would not have been Speakers Who Dare. I would not be enjoying the success or the defeats that I have, the beautiful, beautiful defeats that I've had in this process to claim more of my own divinity. I had to fall on my face quite a few times and hard, and clearly this is probably the most intense of those falls, so that I could be who I came here to be, to break and cast off the parts of myself that I could not break and cast off alone.
Right.
So yeah, there are plans on my wall, and I am more than happy to crumble those plans up and toss them because divine says, no, you're supposed to be here on this day. I've told my friends, I cannot commit to certain things on certain days, and I can't tell you why. I just know that I won't be able to be there. One of my friends had a TEDx, and I didn't buy tickets, and I couldn't tell her why I couldn't be there. I just knew I wouldn't be there. I didn't know where I'd be. I didn't know I'd be in the hospital for 2 months, but I knew I wouldn't be there, and I couldn't explain to her. I just had to ask her to trust me and apologize, because I wanted to support her, but I also know when life is talking to me, and so I don't overcommit. Couldn't say, I think on that day I will be in the hospital with a brain abscess. But I knew I wasn't going to be there. So we make these plans. We have to be willing to toss those plans too, because life is talking to us.
Right.
And there's no words. It's not like when you're hungry, your stomach growls. Your stomach doesn't say, excuse me, miss, can you feed me?
Yeah.
It's a sensation. Life is a sensation. You have to be in your body to feel the sensations. Right. And it takes time to discern what the coding is. And sometimes you don't. You just got to go with, yeah, I don't know that I can make this commitment right now.
I think, you're talking about intuition, and something that I've been picking up on during this interview is maybe some things beyond the 5 senses that you possess, right?
Yeah.
And for, not saying that you're a person that sees ghosts, but there's the normal senses. I'm making air quotes, and Trisha would not be happy because I'm making air quotes. But there's the normal, and then there's the paranormal, or the extra normal. Talk to me about what, you were already talking about being an empath and stuff like that. Like, what are some of these qualities? And I'm totally curious about it. Hey, it's Mark. I hope you're digging the Golden Mike podcast. If you have or are just starting your own revolution fueled by joy, there's a site I created for you. If you, like me, believe that personal growth is simply not enough, if you, like me, are committed to changing history for the better in both micro and macro ways, check out joyrevolution.com. In there, you'll find an archive of our over 200 Golden Mike Live Facebook shows, and of course, our podcast that you're currently listening to. Check out the blogs highlighting how positive psychology and joy theory apply to your everyday life. There's even some cool clips from our Joy Revolution course geared towards influencers, speakers, writers, and change agents. It's all there. Go to joyrevolution.com. That's joyrevolution.com. Let's get back to the episode.
We teach that we have five senses, and there's the sixth sense. Egyptians, they had like 133 senses. We have so many
133 fucking senses?
We have so many senses that we don't acknowledge, like where we are in time, the ability to spatial, that sense of what's around us in space. I find myself using senses in a different way because as my brain repairs itself, my eyes are healthy and fantastic, and I see differently. So maneuvering through my neighborhood is fascinating. So I rely on my senses in a different way. I am no different than anyone else. I just engage differently with the quantum field the ability to trust myself in space and time with information. And I use life as a lab. Mm-hmm. It's an experiment, right? To see if I do this, what will happen? When a friend had picked me up from the hospital after my second surgery, like 5 days later, and we needed to go to the grocery store. I know my neighborhood. I've lived here a very long time. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to the grocery store, and I've been in the hospital really for 2 months. So everything is bigger, louder. A 4x4 turned on to the street we were crossing, and I could feel every car in the city turn. And I would hold tighter to him because it was scary, but I know my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to the store, and at one point he was like, do you need me to GPS this, or do you know where we're going? Really? Oh, thank you for that. I know where I'm going. So while I couldn't see, I knew where I was, or I was sight challenged at the time. I knew where I was going. And there will be those people in our lives that will want evidence or, offer us a assist.
Okay.
That is not reinforcing.
And this is definitely not something where I'm looking for evidence. I'm purely trying to see what the experience is like for you.
The experience is a game. And that you have to play with life. It's between you and life. It's between you and your guardian angels. It's between you and your God.
Guardian angels. Yeah. Let's talk about them for a second.
Sure.
So again, I would probably put this in the extra normal, paranormal piece.
Really?
I mean, just from the standpoint of the status quo, right?
Okay.
Right? Even though if you're in certain religions, they believe in guardian angels, right?
Yeah.
They're spoken about all the time. But what is your interfacing with guardian angels even? Like, can you see them?
No.
Do you hear them? Like, like how do you know what I mean? Like, because if for the listener who's like, you know what, Egyptians had 133, I've got 5.
You have what you say you have.
And you have what you say what you have. When you went and started talking about the quantum field, I said, oh, these are not magical powers that you have. These are more so you're using a null hypothesis in the scientific method to like decipher, how to really improve and grow, right? So, but also at the same time, like guardian angels, like talk to me about what that experience is like to sort of know that you have them, or when did you know that you had them?
I'm not an expert on guardian angels by any stretch of the imagination, but I know that I've had 2 burning bush moments, and I couldn't tell you if it was God or a guardian angel, but I believe it was God. And maybe one was God and maybe one was a guardian angel. But it's all about trust. It's all about trusting your senses. And for the listeners, I would say the first piece of this is creating a relationship with yourself that you trust yourself, i.e., stop lying to yourself. Stop breaking your word to yourself. You say you're going to go to the gym on Tuesday, go to the gym on Tuesday. Or don't say you are. Or make amends to yourself for not going. And I don't mean with a cookie. You know what I mean? Like if you break plans with a friend, your friend most likely will be like, yo, not cool. And you'll be like, I'm sorry, I'll pay for dinner next time. But create a relationship with yourself so that you trust yourself, that you trust that you're going to do what you say you're going to do, because that will help you discern whether or not to trust others. It's not about trusting others or not. It's about trusting yourself, because if you trust yourself, if you really trust yourself, if you really come through for yourself, that is what you'll attract, because that is a frequency. Truth is a frequency. Trust is a frequency, and you cultivate it from the inside out, so that when you get hits, when you get downloads, when things happen that are on the scale of paranormal, let's say, instead of dismissing it, or instead of telling someone who will dismiss it for you so you don't have to have responsibility in it, right? Because I could have given up my responsibility and my power in that moment and been like, yeah, Google Maps it. I don't know where I'm at. We're 2 blocks away. Trust me, dude. I know I just got to the hospital. Just roll with me. You have to be able to stand up for yourself and assert for yourself and not give your power away, whether it's with a friend or in the hospital when they give you a drug that doesn't feel good in your body.
Yeah.
Because I was given something that did not feel good in my body. And instead of giving my power away and being reactionary in it, I was able to center myself and have a conversation that needed to be had.
Right.
So we all have access to the quantum field, to information. There have been times that I've been walking down the street, and actually, same friend was supposed to come see me like 3 years ago. And I'm walking down the street, and he's not coming. 2 days later, he told me he wasn't coming. I knew when he made the decision not to come that he was not coming. And then the information, that was a lab experiment. And then I waited. I didn't call and ask questions. I said, okay, I'll note that. And then 2 days later.
So it's not something that you try to change the future on, right?
No.
They're not coming.
Yeah.
Right.
It's acceptance. Acceptance
right.
is the hardest thing we will ever do. It's even harder than telling the truth to ourselves because acceptance is part of telling the truth. It has to come first. What is? Okay, I got a hit that something is off here. I don't know what is off here. I don't know how to define it. I don't have words. But I'm going to trust that something is off here and note that and see what happens in the future. Whether that's 2 days, 2 years, 20 years, whatever. And so cultivating this relationship, because there are going to be times that you're going to have to trust yourself in the face of adversity.
Right. Well, and one of the things that I like about the way that you've answered that question about sort of, oh, tell me about the paranormal and tell me about this, tell me about that. And you're like, wait, hold on. Let's break it down first. You first need to be impeccable with your word, with yourself and with others. It's very 4 agreements, right?
Yes, that's my Bible.
Okay. So, and then the idea of radical acceptance. These are things that you don't have to put those in the category of, I can see my guardians and my helpers around me. It's more so, it's still on you. It's still on you. That is your power. And even when you start deferring to, there might be some times where you're like, guidance or, something, but like, it would be cool right now, but also at the same time, you still are the last word on that accountability piece, and that has nothing to do with being paranormal or being, or being extra normal. To me, it's about being extraordinary and living extraordinary.
And I would also say, this is the warning part. Make sure that if you want to connect with your guardian angels and God and yourself, that you are willing to be down, because you are going to get hits that you don't like. Mm-hmm. You are going to want something that is not for you, and the answer will be no, and your body will tell you.
Like what? Outside of the brain? Like what?
I have always known when a relationship was over before a relationship ended, because my body gave me a signal. It did what it does. And if I'm not done yet, I'm not done yet. And I have not always listened. And it has always resulted in debauchery. like it has always been a debacle. Okay. And so sometimes you want things that are not for you, and you don't care that it's not for you because your ego is like, no, that's mine. I want that. Or, I tell the story often. I was getting on a plane to go to Haiti. I was working for a non-for-profit, and we did work in Haiti. And I got a hit while
were you working for a non-for-profit, or were you a spy?
One never knows. One never knows. Probably a little bit of both. And
people. She was walking me around the neighborhood to find the place, her place. And there's a freaking FBI building right here. So I'm like, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, it's we are who we are. It's funny to look at the patterns in our lives, right? Yeah. And so we were in queue getting on the plane, and I had a reaction. I've been flying since I was a little girl, and I had a reaction. I got very upset, and I told my friend I'm not getting on the plane, and I was adamant. Of course, I let her talk me into it because I was not strong in my knowing of self then. I was in my 20s, and got on the plane, sat by the director. still had this feeling, and I'm, sitting there buckling my seatbelt, thinking, really? Really? This plane goes down. So what? You're going to die by this man. He's not going to save your life. And you got your ass on the plane anyway. Took off. There was a commotion. The plane ended up turning around, coming back. Marshals came on the plane.
Really?
Yeah, marshals came on the plane, took the disturbance off the plane, but I felt that shit. So to me, that was my first real moment of like, touche. Touche, life, universe, God, whoever's talking to me, touche, I got it. Because I was clear that my life might depend on listening to a hit like that.
Right.
Another time, again, I had a burning bush moment and I did not listen. It wasn't bookended. I was told not to do something. It wasn't bookended. I was just told not to do something. I was told not to.
By a person.
By God or by my guardian angel. It was an audible voice that told me not to go and then shot fear through my body and said, don't go again. I said, okay, I didn't go. But it wasn't bookended. Am I not supposed to go ever? Or like just right now, like clarity?
You negotiated with the burning bush.
Right? I negotiated out to the burning bush, but like still it's like no is no. No is no. Jazz. No means no. But it wasn't bookended. So that's why I'm saying
and you heard it like it was an auditory
voice. Like we are talking right now. Don't go. Don't go. And then this bolt of fear shot through my body and I felt that down to my toes. And I was like, oh, that was fascinating. And I went back out into my life. I had to work that night. There was a new girl. She didn't know me from Adam. I needed to tell somebody what happened to me. And so I told her what happened. And she was like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, let's play a game. I'm not going. And I felt this rise up off my chest. And I was like,
A release.
That's interesting. Let's try another experiment. I'm going. And I felt the weight. And I'm like, okay, guess I'm not going. And I didn't go. But
no hypotheses confirmed. Such a scientist with all this stuff.
Because life is a lab.
Right.
You have to test things out for yourself. Don't believe me.
Right.
Don't believe a book. Don't believe a person in a lab coat.
Right.
Test it out for yourself and see what your body is telling you, see what life is telling you, see what the message is for you. My message is going to be different than your message. My experience is going to be different than your experience. And be mindful what you ask for, because you have a responsibility to, when you cultivate a relationship with someone or something or God, you have a responsibility to that relationship.
Sure.
How do you pray? How do you interact with God? How do you commune and sing and then be like, thanks for that tip. I'm good. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm clear that part of this experience is connected to that moment of me. I may have listened at that time, but because there was no bookends and my humanness and my mind came into it of like, and my heart, I'm going to go. It's been 9 months. Was it 9 months or ever? In this moment, I'm clear. I will never go to where I was told not to go ever again. I will not even buy products from said place because no means no. And we don't get specific instructions all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't come with a memo. Jazz, don't go to X, May 1st to June 31st or 30th, whatever. Don't do that. We don't get that. No is no. I will never, because you know what? It is not about us. Sometimes why we are here, why I was allowed to survive and live is because maybe I'm going to interact with someone in 10 years from now and have an impact on their life and they save yours. We don't know all the time why we're meant to do something or not do something, but it's not always about us. And so when and if that burning bush moment occurs again, because, it was just my life on the line. as far as I know, in that moment of not to go. But what if other people's lives had been on the line and I did what Jazz wanted to do? It is not always about us.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounded like that voice was like...
Oh, he was clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was gangster clear.
Absolutely. I think I had a very similar moment, not about traveling or anything like that, but there was a point in my life in which I think I became a pretty hardcore nihilist. There was no God. There was nothing after we died. And so it was, I think the only reason it came about was because I was in grad school and I needed empirical data. And if God couldn't be proven, which if I paid more attention, there's a lot of proof out there, right? And maybe not from an empirical standpoint, right? But I think that experience is just as powerful as empirical data. And I didn't give my experience the same weight as the empirical data. And I remember it was my birthday, and my partner wanted to take me out for my birthday, and I had a paper due the next day in my doctoral program. And I was just like, go out and have fun, have fun and just celebrate and bring me food, and she left, and I was in like utter misery, writing this paper. And I believe the paper was about, the landscape of administrative roles in higher education in the next 30. It was just, wow. It was not something that I was passionate about. Right. And it really felt like a low, because it was my 30th birthday. It wasn't just a birthday. It was my, it was like 30th birthday. And I gave up the birthday party because I thought I needed to become a PhD. There I was stuck in the matrix, stuck in the game was playing me. I thought the movie was real. Right. And I remember saying, I know you're not fucking real, but God, please, like, if you exist, like, please, like, I just need a sign right. I didn't even finish the sentence. Like, literally, and I'm sure you felt this before. It felt like it wasn't just a tingle. Like when you get, when you have those aha moments and you feel the bubbles go from your butt to your head, right? Yeah. It was an electric charge that went from my toes and like out my ears, and I felt as if whatever it was that did it was like, we've been here the whole time, you dumbass. Right. We're gonna be here whether you like it or not, whether you disavow us or not. We're coming through on our word. I like to think that one of my helpers has a huge sense of humor. Amen. But I don't think that moments like that are moments that we should write off. No. Moments where we're taught that we're told that, not we're told. Moments when we ask and we receive. Moments in which we are in complete loneliness and we're reminded that we're not. Moments where we are, moments in which our ego gets in the way, and we know if we don't listen to the ego, we're going to be so much better off for it. There are a lot of fucking things that love us out there, and I can't explain why, and that's why I've loved having you on the show. I'm not kicking you off yet, Jazz. I have one final question, and it's a very open-ended question for you. What do you feel called to say right now?
That really is an open-ended question. Love. It is powerful. It is gangster. It comes through you to that which you love. Excuse me. Wow, my throat. I've been talking for 2 hours straight, and now I have a tickle. Wow.
Thanks, Joe.
Sorry, Joe. If it makes you feel better, we're late. Love is not about reciprocity. If there is reciprocity, God bless. Love is about blowing your own heart open and letting it fill you first, and then giving it to others. That's what my takeaway from the hospital was, is All I want to do is love. Love deeply, love hard, love as many people as possible. And it's not a business deal. It's not, I will love you in exchange for X.
It's not utilitarian.
No.
Yeah.
It is, I love you. Now, that is not to say, I love you and you can do whatever you want to me, or I'm a doormat.
Right.
You can do whatever you want, just not around me.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean I don't love you. I may have to love you from thousands of miles away. I may have to love you and never talk to you again. I may have to love you and not like you very much.
Mm.
I may love you and need to heal something within myself so that I can love you more. But love is not a negotiation. It's not measured and weighted. It is not something you keep track of. It's just something you give. It's something that you allow to move through you, and that you give freely. I walk down the street, and because my vision or my brain sees the world very differently now, people sometimes radiate. I can see them radiating. Like their beauty is so awe-inspiring in moments. Like I am just, wow. I am having a love relationship energetically with them as I'm walking down the street. Or someone will pass me who has a physical challenge and I feel love for them. Or there's someone who's asking for change and I feel love for them and I give them what I have because I understand on a deeper level now. It's not that I didn't give before. It's not that I didn't feel love before, but I understand differently now. Everyone needs more love and it is free.
Mm.
It is so easy to give. It is so easy to smile at someone. It is so easy to look into someone's eyes and let them know that you see them without a word. We are here to love each other, support each other, help each other, join together, change things. It's easy. It's love. It's love. Love people. Go love people.
Jazz Biancci, 3 hours.
Oy vey. Wow.
Oy vey is exact. And you know what's funny? We haven't even made a dent. But modern technology does not have the capacity to handle Mark and Jazz when we talk. Absolute pleasure to have you on, especially as one of our first guests here on the Golden Mic. I hope we have plenty more of these. And there's nothing much more I can say.
Honor and privilege to be here, Mark. I love you. I think you're a great man, and I love what you're doing in the world.
Likewise. All right. So go on with your day. Have a good one. Take care.
God bless.
I hope you enjoyed the Golden Mic podcast. There's more good stuff coming your way. But until the next episode, let's stay in touch, yes? Find us on Instagram as The Joy Rev, or communicate with like-minded revolutionaries in our Facebook group. Search The Joy Revolution Underground. And of course, don't forget to check out the classes, articles, blogs, and some serious fun at joyrevolution.com. That's joyrevolution.com. Now, until then, what will you do to change history for the better? Let's go out and play, shall we? Press start to begin.